name's Jim Lettieri. I'm the Town Council President for Winthrop. I would just like to take a moment to welcome everyone to FKO's Winthrop Grand Opening and Ribbon Cutting Ceremony. As we begin, I'd like to recognize some of the dignitaries that are with us today. Our interim town manager and police chief, Terry Delahanty. Our fire chief, Scott Wiley. Our town councilors, John Munson, Joe Aiello, Council Vice President Stephen Ruggiero, and Councilor Barbara Flockhart. Our chairperson of the Board of Health, who have helped shepherd us through COVID, along with Meredith Early, Mr. Bill Schmidt. From the school committee, we have Suzanne Leonard and Lane Petrie. From the schools, our Director of Curriculum, geez, Laurie Gallivan. Our Cummings School Principal, Andrea O'Leary. Our high school principal, Matt Crombie. And I know our superintendent, Lisa Howard, would have loved to have been here, but she has other commitments right now, and we wish her and her family the best. From the Department of Early Education and Care, we are very happy to have Acting Commissioner Amy Kershaw. Senator Edwards was here, but Lydia had to go back to the State House for business, but she was extremely happy to be here and just was so impressed with the facility. So she sends her regards. Also happy to see our State Representative Jeffrey Turco here with us. And by seeing him here, that means that the House has completed their budget negotiations, so we are hoping for increased funding for our great town and for our schools. So thank you very much. And lastly, I'd like to recognize the former and also longest-serving Speaker in the House for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts history, Speaker Bob Deleo. Bob's been a champion and a fierce advocate for FKO since its inception for almost 40 years. I've said this before, and I know Bob served 12 years, and he became the longest speaker in the history of the Commonwealth, and he did that by besting out an old friend of Bob's. His name was Tim Bigelow, who was the speaker in 1820. But congratulations, Bob. You're quite an asset for the town of Winthrop, and we appreciate and love you dearly. Now, I would like to invite Representative Turco up to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. Debbie and her team, thank you for everything that you do. The most important thing that we do as a society, as a government, is the education of our children and the care of our children. In the work that FKO does, I saw it at the town council level when I was council president many moons ago, and I see it at the state level as I talk to advocates around the Commonwealth. I do want to point out one of my colleagues in the House, Joe McGonigal, the representative from Everett. Joe, thanks for being here. A dear friend of mine of 30 years, Bill Eddy, is a champion of early childhood education around the Commonwealth, came out from Worcester. He's educated me over the last 30 years in the importance of this work. And Bill, thank you for your leadership on behalf of the kids of the Commonwealth. This is such a great occasion to be here to see this wonderful facility. But this stuff doesn't happen by accident. It happens by planning, it happens by leadership, it happens by dedication. And Debbie, your commitment to this field over many decades is really unprecedented and is truly heartwarming to see your love and passion for what you do, and thank you very much for what you do. But how does this stuff happen? It happens with leadership, not just at the local level, an idea that Debbie has and other people around the Commonwealth, but it happens because people in positions of power use their power to benefit the people of the Commonwealth and the kids of the Commonwealth. And I've said this before when talking about this individual. Sophocles once said that one must wait until the evening to know how beautiful the day has been. In the leadership that Bob Deleo gave to the Commonwealth over his 12 years as Speaker and nearly 30 years as a representative have transformed not just this town, but have transformed the Commonwealth with so many different issues. And Mr. Speaker, we wouldn't be here today if it weren't for your bold leadership years ago to prioritize our kids and prioritize early childhood education. As a father of a bunch of kids, I can't thank you enough for what you've done for this town and for this Commonwealth. And so it's my privilege to follow in your, or try to follow in your footsteps. Not as successful as you on the budget, but, but seriously, like, your achievements to the Commonwealth and to this town, into early childhood education, are unparalleled in the entire history of the Commonwealth. And people will talk about you for decades to come because of what you've done to transform us. And thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. So I probably have gone on longer than I wanted to, so I thank you for joining us today. This is a wonderful day, and I look forward to talking to people as we go around and see where we're at and the great work that this place. Now, Chris Yoda said he's going to do a dunk competition in a couple of minutes too, so we'll see how that works out. All right, thank you very much. Be well.
FKO has been an institution in this town for almost 40 years. They've always been there for the working parents of Winthrop and their families. Over the years, FKO has had many different homes, including, I believe, the American Legion building next to Town Hall, St. John's School, St. John's Episcopal, the E.B. Newton, Willis School, and others. I have a personal connection with FKO. Back in, I believe, 1985, my wife, Dawn, was asked by Debbie to cover her maternity leave. I believe Debbie was pregnant with Brianna at the time, and that short stay ended up running for 10 years, and Dawn loved every second of her time with FKO. We've seen many changes in Winthrop over the years, whether it be the economy, family dynamics, or demographics, and FKO has filled the critical needs of these families. They've been great partners with the schools and the town. Debbie's one of the most passionate, caring, and driven person I know, and I feel very fortunate to call her my friend. I would like to introduce to you all the Executive Director of FKO, Debbie Kneeland Keegan.
Thank you, Jim. Can you hear me okay? So, it's been a long time. We started this project, I believe, oh my gosh, back in 2016, the planning thereof, and we broke ground in 2018. And then the worldwide pandemic hit, right? And the whole town was watching this building, like, sitting there. I'll never forget saying, what is going to happen to this building? And most importantly, what is it going to look like when it's done, knowing Winthrop? But we made it because of all of you here, and I am so grateful. And I'm going to take a little bit of time to thank so many of you if you haven't been already, and I apologize if I don't mention certain names, but you are also meaningful to me, so please know that. For Kids Only After School is a Mass Department of Early Education and Care, year-round licensed out-of-school time program. I am so extremely honored and grateful to finally be able to come together safely with all of you to celebrate our grand opening and ribbon-cutting ceremony of FKO Winthrop. I'd like to start by recognizing and thanking our public officials and statewide leaders for joining us today. I'd also like to thank the interim town manager and police chief, Terrence Delahanty. You have been so helpful to us during this changing times. At one point, we did not have a bus because of the busing shortage, and so we had to walk our children from the Fort Banks School to this facility, and the chief made sure that we had an escort at every crossing place in town. And that was done on his accord, not by my request, so I thank you for that and for so many other things. I'd also like to thank the Winthrop Public Schools superintendent and our director of curriculum, Laurie. It's been a pleasure working with you right now on multiple grant opportunities and collaboration. Cummings School principal and one of our very first staff, Andrea O'Leary, who used to come running into program after her cheerleading practice with her knee socks on. I'll never forget those days. And Matt Crombie, Winthrop High School principal, who was generous to give us space when we didn't have space one summer. Thank you so much. Leanna Rizzioni from CASA, the Community Action for Safe Alternatives here in town, and the Winthrop Board of Health. I'd also like to thank Sarah Link, our good friend, Vice President of Community Impact of United Way Mass Bay. Where's Sarah? Oh, there you are. Thank you. Bill Eddy, Executive Director of MADCA, the Mass Association of Early Education and Care. I have the privilege of serving on that board. Carol Resnick from the Mass Department of Elementary and Secondary Ed. She was here. I don't know if she's still here. Oh, she had to leave. And Teresa Jordan, Bree Horitz, and Kara Wilk of the Children's Investment Fund. I'd also like to recognize Betsy Shane, Executive Director of the Winthrop Chamber of Commerce, Michael and Donna Rizzioni of Winthrop Charities, who has given so graciously to us during when it was remote learning time, and we ran a remote learning support program, and they dedicated funding so that that could happen for working families. Also, the members of the FKO board that are here with us today, please stand up. President Nicole DeSimone, Treasurer Gabe Carreri, Daniel Conti, Attorney Daniel Conti, Angela Martino, and Michelle Velez Haggerty. Thank you so much. Thank you to Katie's Kitchen for being with us this morning. I hope you had a minute to enjoy the delicious refreshments and food served by Katie and her team. Katie's been part of the FKO family for many years. She was one of the very first children to attend FKO, and today she's a female entrepreneur in this town and a proud parent of a first grader who attends our program. Also here with us today is our acting commissioner, Amy Kershaw, who you may know from her years of service and commitment to children and families. Amy formerly served as the commissioner of the Mass Department of Transitional Assistance and has held various policy and leadership roles with the Department of Children and Families. She was recently appointed acting commissioner of the Department of Early Education and Care this past March. Amy has always stood for access, equity, and quality. I know she's going to do a superb job in her new role. I truly appreciate your attendance here today, as well as EEC Regional Director Kelly Meehan, our very good friend, who has provided so much guidance and support to our programs over the years. EEC's mission is to support the healthy growth and development of all children by providing high-quality programs and resources for families and communities. With the benefits of early education and out-of-school time programming, children's lifelong potential is improved, as well as that of their families. As many of you know, FKO began with my family wanting the best for children. It was in the early 1980s when my sister and I both were in the workforce as teachers. We quickly saw a concerning issue. Children were going home alone to empty houses when school got out. You may remember the term latchkey kids, when children carried their own house keys due to the increasing number of women entering the workforce and the lack of places to go after school. We also know that the highest percentage of crime in communities happen by children and to children between the hours of 3 and 6 p.m. Our former House Speaker, Robert A. Deleo, used to use these words publicly often. He would share this statistic as he strongly advocated for increased resources for childcare and after-school programs. So my sister and I wanted some place loving and enriching where our children would continue to grow, make connections, and bring meaning to what they learned during the school day as their parents went to work. In this desire to create a safe and nurturing space that would offer the best for our children and local communities, For Kids Only after school was born. A few years later, FKO became one of the first licensed after-school programs in the Commonwealth through the Office of Children, now known as EEC. Since that time, we've grown to care for over 1,500 children every year across 5 communities: Chelsea, Everett, Peabody, Revere, and Winthrop. I must be truthful, and that Winthrop is dear to me. It is my hometown. It's our flagship. And I'm here with you for that reason. I just love it here. Children often need extra help to grow and learn, especially after enduring the COVID-19 pandemic the last 2 years. At FKO, we work with teachers, guidance counselors, families, and the children themselves to ensure every individual child has the guidance and support they need to achieve. We are proud that all children are welcomed and included in our program, including children from low socioeconomic backgrounds, those new to the country, and those with learning and mental health diagnoses. We would not be here today without our amazing program staff. Program Director Catherine Moynihan, and Administrative Director Kate Tozy go beyond every single day. FKO would not be off to such an amazing start without your leadership. We are fortunate to have a licensed social worker, Sade Taylor, who works with kids in both small groups and one-on-one when needed. She also provides training and coaching to our staff to ensure they have the tools to provide the best experience for every child. A huge thank you to our after-school educators, our group leaders, inclusion specialists, family greeters, one-on-one aides, enrichment specialists, our bus driver, Jimmy, and others. You are the backbone of our organization. And finally, special thanks to our entire leadership team, especially Nikki Preston, Shayla Casso, and Todd Kent, who made this day happen. A lot of people to thank. Thank you all of those who have shared your space with us over the years. After operating programs in multiple locations over the past 37 years, as Jim alluded to, including church facilities, St. John's the Evangelist, now St. Michael's, St. John's Episcopal, the Methodist Church, the Union Congregational Church, school buildings such as the E.B. Newton, the Willis, the Darrapple, the Gorman Fort Banks, the middle school, the high school. FKO now has our own forever home in the heart of Winthrop. Our brand new green solid powered EEC licensed facility includes a teaching kitchen, gymnasium, library, STEAM lab, early childhood classroom, and multi-purpose movement studio where up to 130 children can learn and grow each day. Retaining and revitalizing a portion of the original house built in 1882, the building presents itself as a welcoming, home-like atmosphere that we could not be prouder of. In fact, members of the Levesque family who grew up in this home are here with us today. Where are you? Oh, stand up, stand up. Can I have my water? Thank you. We were recently awarded the Visual Achievement Award from the Winthrop Chamber of Commerce. Nanny Tavares, our architect, is to thank for this. Nanny, your hard work and vision was truly brought to life. Thank you. We thank the Winthrop Historical Commission and local historian, architect Frank Constantino, that work with us to maintain the historical integrity of the building. We also owe tremendous gratitude to CBC Construction, who executed this vision meticulously. For those of you who have never met Ed and Casey Harrison, let me tell you a little bit about them. They are the type of people who are at the job site around the clock, even in the midst of a pandemic. Now that the project is done, they still show up around the clock. They're so giving and generous. Where is Casey and Ed? Are you here? I also want to thank Angelo Petrozelli, our project manager, Felice Silverman, and the entire Silverman Trykowski Associates STA design team. STA is a leader in nonprofit childcare facility design, and we feel honored to have worked with you. Please stand up, STA. Oh, they couldn't make it? Okay. Special thanks to our attorneys, Sean Donahue and attorney Christos Siotis. Salem 5 Bank, who financed this project. Where's Salem 5? Gordon. Gordon, you've been a great financial advisor throughout this entire project. May our paths continue to cross. Aurelio Maffa for the beautiful landscaping. Karina Boncori of Design Loom for the beautiful creation of our reflection room, a space across the hall if you want to take a look where children can go to self-regulate, decompress, and relax. We are a non-punitive environment here. And Joanne Haramura and Brian Udea, did I say it right? I want to make sure I respect your name. Weda, thank you, of Studio MLA, who are currently working with us to complete our outdoor learning space. So thank you. One more thing, an important thing. Quote, I'm going to get emotional. We all understand that a key component of any recovery is access to safe childcare. These are the words of our former House Speaker, Robert A. Deleo, who during COVID started an early education and care advisory council to address the gaps in our system. Bob and I first met in the 70s when we were both serving on the JCC, which is a leadership training organization dedicated to grassroots community service. I know Bob is a person who is understanding, genuine, kind, and caring. I know him as a loving father and grandfather. Before serving as Massachusetts Speaker of the House, Bob first served our community for a decade on the Winthrop Board of Selectmen from 1978 to 1988, and then as our representative in Massachusetts legislature for many years. As Speaker, he always prioritized high-quality early education and after-school programming for every child in this Commonwealth. He also made it his mission to stand up for our hard-working, underpaid workforce, pushing for credentials and ensuring they earned a living wage. For his efforts, early education and after-school programs across Massachusetts have rightfully praised his leadership. But in truth, they have learned what I, living in his district and working with him for decades now, that Bob is a great leader with an even greater heart. We at FKO have seen firsthand the former speaker's commitment to children, his compassion for those families in need, and his tireless efforts to ensure that our mission makes a difference for all children and their families. We are extremely grateful for his unwavering friendship and tremendous leadership. Please come up. So we all know that the speaker often would give us citations. It's your turn for your citation. Given your support of FKO, your tremendous leadership on behalf of our state's most vulnerable children and working families, and the historic investment in high-quality early education and out-of-school time you shepherded through the state legislature, we are pleased to announce that our early childhood classroom is being named in your honor. The Robert A. Deleo Early Elementary Classroom will provide developmentally appropriate activities that help our youngest children to develop key skills for healthy living, school readiness, and lifelong happiness for years to come. Inside the early ed room, you'll see a project-based learning enrichment called Young Architects. We're under the teaching of Layla Ribeiro. Where's Layla? One of our wonderful educators. Children designed and built replicas of local buildings in the town. I am overjoyed that Bob Deleo's granddaughter, Autumn, you want to stand up? No? Okay. Yeah. Autumn, who is here with us today, was a part of this project and helped build one of these replicas. So Bob, here we are as grandparents today. Our work together has truly come full circle. At FKO, we often share with the children how each and every person has what we call a heart print. You can't see your heart print, but you can feel it. and so can others, through their words that they say and the things that they do. Robert Deleo has truly left his heartprint on the thousands of children, families, and staff of FKO, on our community of Winthrop, and across the state of Massachusetts. I am deeply grateful for your support of FKO since our first program in 1984 that has helped us to reach this new era. Again, I stand before you with humble appreciation and gratitude. Please join me in celebrating Robert A. Deleo.
I have a new partner here. Whenever I receive awards or whatnot of recognition, she's with me all the way. Wow, I thought I was just going to see a ribbon cutting and that was going to be it. But I have to tell you how really special this really is to me. You're finding a speaker now, former speaker, is a little bit speechless, which is very, very scary. That was not a problem. First of all, I'd like to talk to McGonigal and Turco. How did you finish that budget so fast? I'm a taxpayer. Well, first of all, a sincere thank you. Sincere thank you to Debbie and all of her family and children and all of the folks here for Kids Only. And it's interesting to note that we go back a ways. You know, our children played sports together. Rachel played with her daughter. My son played with her son in terms of various sports and whatnot. And so this isn't anything new. And it was funny because of the fact when she talked about some of the quotes that I had in early education, the 3 to 6, I got most of those quotes from Debbie. And what she didn't tell you was the lobbying she did. And I say lobbying because she was spectacular and reminded me every time she saw me about the early education needs here, not only in Winthrop, but throughout the Commonwealth. And you know what? She was right. And I think Bill can attest to that as well. But it was interesting, you know, when you go on supporting something such as this. This past Wednesday, Commonwealth Magazine decided to come to the Northeastern University, and they wanted to interview me and talk to me about life after the speakership. And they talked about a whole host of things, and they said, you know, a lot of people considered you to be probably the most powerful person in Massachusetts. But I said, don't tell Charlie Baker that. Don't you do? Because I'm going to see him next week, so you better not do that. And they said, what are some of the things that you were, you know, most proud of? And I talked about the fact about having the opportunity to meet, you know, various presidents and whatnot, and you know, my personal meeting with Barack Obama, who wanted to talk to me about healthcare as well as some other things, and how nice that was. I said, but really, I said, that's really wasn't probably the most important thing to me. I said, the most important thing to me was having the ability to go home each and every night with the hope that I help someone. And I mean that sincerely. And they looked at me and they said, well, you had a one-on-one with the President of the United States. I said, and it was great. I said, we talked about healthcare, then he talked about the White Sox, and I talked about the Red Sox. I said, you know, it was wonderful. But I said, and I described some situations, especially with children, about how each night I could go home and feel that maybe I helped someone. This may sound corny and it may sound hokey or whatnot, but I think my daughter will attest to this as well. That's just the way I looked at my job. And when I left the job, as a matter of fact, and I gave my goodbye remarks, that was really the theme of it at the end, that if you can't find that you're here to help people, that you're here for another reason, then you're in the wrong business. And that's the way I looked at it. But I went on to tell the magazine about my feelings about early education, which if you talk to some of the students that I lecture to, they will tell you about my feelings about early education, as I often bring it up in terms of some of the good things that we were able to do, but most importantly, to give them an idea as they're searching in the world of what they want to do or what the important things of life. They will find early education is one of those issues that they really should talk about and to study. And it started so interesting because of the fact I had Michelle Licio, at the point, my analyst relative to education, talk to me, and she talked to me and she gave me some information, and I said, "Can I see some information on early education?" And I read it, and I was so impressed to see what early education means to our society that I immediately sort of went above and beyond in terms of supporting an issue, if you will. It became probably the issue that I felt that we had to address. I read issues such as, with early education, children can, excel, or at least better chance of succeeding in school. Children had a better opportunity to attain a college degree. Children had a better opportunity. The statistics show that, to stay out of the troubles that society may have if they had that background. So that's when I talked about so many different issues, when I talk about the need for education in general, when I talk about how we can improve ourselves as a society with early education, because it's proven that those with an early education have better opportunities in life. And I often talk about that again with the students, and as we're talking about an era of issue of racial inequality and some of the financial issues and whatnot, I often talk about a way to pick up the bootstraps of some of these folks is through early education at such a young age. And that's because I just firmly believe in it. And I also firmly believe that although I was probably the person who maybe gained a little more interest in the subject, I think it was the sleeping giant. And I say that because of the fact I think that everyone liked to talk about early education, but no one really came forward to really get into it as much. And I hope, and I'm proud of the fact, hopefully I was that person who actually provided that opportunity when people would say, "Oh yeah, maybe Deleo's onto something here." I know I spoke it set up a committee of some of the top business people. I spoke at the Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce. You okay? I know you're getting bored, but that's all right. She can get bored, the rest of you can't. And I said, what do and I asked to form a business committee, which I did, and it was amazed. The first thing I got, 20 to 25 of the top companies in Massachusetts saying, wow, we want to be part of this committee in terms of what we can do for education. And my first reaction was when they had left, I said to staff, how many people are those folks interested in it? Or how many people just want to suck up to me as speaker? And it was amazing because I really felt, and I think I learned, that they were all interested in it because they knew it was in the best interest of the Commonwealth and their businesses to have it. But I know I probably spoke for a little bit too long. I'd have to say, receiving an award such as this, is so important. And it's so important to me because, yeah, speaker, you receive various recognition. It's very well appreciated. Some local, some national, and whatnot. Usually the recognition comes right before the budget. But that's okay. That's all right. I'm accepting of that. I often go back to the State House and say, that line item on that, they had a sign with my name on it and everything. And my staff used to say, please, just don't go to any of those events before the budget, because you're always changing it when you get back. But being here, being in my hometown, being honored by my friends, who, in this town, I'd have to say that people here really have become family. I'm not the speaker here. I'm Bobby, I'm Bob, I'm everything else. As long as they don't swear at me, I'm fine. But they've been so kind to me. And that's one of the things that I always appreciated and whatnot. Yeah, I did pretty well in terms of rising in the ladder of the State House. But you don't get that opportunity unless you have good people. In my case, in Winthrop and in Revere. Jimmy, you can tell the good people from Revere, I said that too. You know, quite frankly, backing me throughout the years and having confidence in me. And many people have stated, you know, why leave? You know, there was a TV show that talked about the fact Bob Deleo could have been speaker for as long as he wanted. And I don't know if that's true. But what had actually happened, I will tell you it. You know, I looked to change, and it was something I always wanted to do, quite frankly, to teach at the college level, and I'd have to say it's been an amazing ride. I've just loved it dearly. But I've been blessed. I've been blessed, first of all, in my life to have two wonderful children, my son Rob and my daughter Rachel. And I sincerely want to, since she is here, my wonderful daughter Rachel, for her understanding throughout the years, sharing me with so many different people, for waiting when I told you I'd get you a muffin and would come home from the center about an hour later with the list of things to do. And you guys can probably appreciate that now. So thank you, and I love you. And the same with Rob. But one really special person, I think I'd have to say, and no offense to Rachel or Rob about this, was this little girl right here. This little girl right here. You know, quite frankly. Again, this may sound corny and whatnot, but when, you know, from the time she was born, and obviously I'd have to say not only her my other granddaughter, Anna, who's coming up in her footsteps as well, she sort of taught me so much in terms of, you know, what life is all about and whatnot, and the need to get out and maybe do some certain things. And I think it was my son Rob who was called by one of those podcasts and said, "Why would your father leave? He you know, he's doing great." And he said, very honestly, he says, "I think it was the grandkids." And they sort of laughed and said, "Of all the things, you're not going to say the job got too hard or this or that." He said, "No," he says, "I think it was the grandkids that he had." And when I would leave out in the morning and see this little girl out there, and she would say goodbye to Papa when put up the window, especially in the summertime. And then she would say to me, "Am I going to see you later on, Papa?" And many days I had to say, "Well, Papa's in Springfield today. He's in Worcester today, so I probably won't." And quite frankly, I was tired of saying that. I was very tired of saying that. And so when I guess the stories are written about it, and you know, and I'm not sure if Commonwealth Magazine picked up on that. I think they did. They're going to say, "Wow, now we know sort of the you know, one of the major reasons." It was a little girl, little 6-year-old girl, who sort of changed Papa's idea in terms of what he wanted to do in future life. And I'm not sorry for that, quite frankly, because I got the greatest joy I've had in a long time after going through being Speaker of the House. And I can tell you, it's working 7 days a week, and you're always on call and whatnot, but to be able to do some of the things that my daughter continuously laughs at me for being on the floor and, you know, playing the airplane and all this other stuff, it's wonderful. But so, again, thank you so much for listening for so long. Thank you so much, Debbie, for your recognition, your extremely kind words. And most importantly, even though I may not be there, I'm still there, you know, in spirit and want to be there in help. But please, most importantly, thank each and every one of you. I thank each and every one of you for the unbelievable job that you do. Because by helping these children, you're helping our cities and towns, you're helping our state, and you're helping our country, believe it or not. And I can tell you that with early childhood care, we can do better. We can do better, and we are doing better. So thank you, and God bless everyone.